Please welcome President and CEO F5 Networks, François Locoh-Donou.
Well, good morning. Good morning. So I realize my presence on this stage for many NGINX users may signal some fears of the worst possible outcomes. That F5 is going to take this fantastic open source project and ruin it, get all the engineers, the best engineers, to run for the exits, and then raise the prices for everything. Some of you may be here to mark the day that NGINX died as a result of this. Look, I get it. You know, we all know that the majority of acquisitions in the technology space actually don't work out. Over the last 20 years, I have been part of over 15 acquisitions myself, and I have watched a number of others in our industry that didn't work out and learned from the lessons of Microsoft and Nokia, Alcatel, Lucent, Nortel, as a lot of these combinations did not produce the expected benefits for customers. But I am here to tell you that this is not going to be one of them. And I feel very confident in sharing this with you, because the acquisitions that I saw over time become most successful were combinations where the acquired company was a core part of the strategy of the acquiring entity. And let me assure you that NGINX is absolutely core to the strategy of F5. And I want to give you some context for this. About 3 years ago, F5 embarked on a mission to reach every application anywhere. What do I mean by that? F5 has its roots in the data center, where we have, over the last 15 years, become one of the predominant players for traditional mission-critical applications in data center. But of course, our customers are deploying applications in all kinds of environments today, multiple public clouds and private clouds, native container environments. And all of the application services that are required for these applications, we felt we had an opportunity to go and provide these applications and provide every application service from the inception of code to deliver that code to the customer, regardless of where the application was built and where it is deployed. And we fundamentally believe that we are going to get to that mission with and through NGINX. I know Kara spoke about the code to customer mission yesterday. And if you look at every stage of the application lifecycle here, F5 and NGINX together create a better value proposition, a better application service for our customers. From the very first discussions that we had with NGINX, and this now goes back almost a year ago, we essentially started to see the strategic innovation that the NGINX team would bring to this mission and how we would accelerate it from being the trusted open source leader in applications, from having the most widely deployed web server and app server now reaching roughly 400 million websites around the world, for providing native support for container environments, and also bringing to the table new application services such as API gateways that are absolutely critical to modern application environments. And so for all these reasons, when we combine this innovation with the reach and scale of F5 and the breadth of our application security portfolio, we truly feel that we could accelerate this mission of delivering application services from code to customer across all environments and greatly simplify the complexity that our customers are dealing with. But there is one aspect of this combination that is pretty unique, and that I want to double-click on, and that, of course, is open source. This is a picture here of an NGINX meetup that we organized about, a few weeks ago in San Francisco during VMworld. And I was amused by the picture and kept it because it illustrated for me how dare I say, mainstream open source has become, where these meetups no longer happen in basements and back alley garages, but they happen on fancy rooftop terraces in the middle of San Francisco. And in all seriousness, there has been a fundamental change, and actually a very necessary change, in the way that large enterprises perceive and consume open source. At F5, we didn't get our start in open source like NGINX, but we have seen our customers over time insist upon and increase their use of open source in their application environment. And we fundamentally believe that open source, or community-led disruption, is going to continue to be a very powerful source of innovation to either disrupt existing markets or create new markets. And as a result, we have started making small but more frequent contributions to open source for the last 5, 6 years, contributing to projects ranging from Wireshark to the Linux kernel. If you go to our GitHub repository, you'll see there a number of open-sourced big IP integrations for Ansible or Kubernetes that are targeted at our NetOps users and makes it easier for them to integrate big IP into their environments. And so our stance has progressively changed, and we formally launched about 2 years ago a project we call Aspen Mesh, where we have roughly a 20-person team that are solely focused on building on top of and contributing to a variety of Istio projects. But perhaps the most powerful statement about our belief in open source is NGINX itself. Because the faith and the trust that this community has put in NGINX is, in fact, what made NGINX most attractive to F5, and why I think this combination is going to be really special. And so I want to translate that belief into a number of commitments that we made to ourselves during the acquisition process, and that we are now living with the NGINX leadership team. Firstly, you're going to see increased contribution to nginx.org as we go forward. And I see you guys, some of you are taking pictures. I'm very happy about that, because I'm very happy to make these commitments publicly, because they're not empty promises, and they're really important. We're going to continue to have the same level of access to the open source code as we had before the acquisition. There's going to be absolutely no change there. But beyond that, we have allocated more resources to community engagement, and we intend in 2020 to quadruple the number of NGINX meetups in the year. I think we had about 8 or 9 in 2019, and we'll have north of 30 community engagements next year. All of that's going to translate to how we're working with the NGINX team internally. And I am absolutely thrilled that Gus and Eric and Sydney and Igor and Maxim and Rob are all staying with us and leading a new business unit inside of F5. We call it the NGINX business unit, to drive forward the combination. To accelerate the roadmap of NGINX, in the first 2 months post the close of the acquisition closed in May, we added close to 130 engineers to the NGINX team, largely to accelerate both open source contributions as well as the NGINX controller, which you'll hear about more later on today. We have trained north of 1,000 engineers at F5 on NGINX technology, including a number of pre-sales engineers. We've had north of 100 customer engagements. There's tremendous excitement in F5, both in the field, at the front end with customer engagements, as well as in our own engineering organization, in part because of the reverse osmosis that NGINX has brought to our engineering team, with a number of fresh ideas, fresh perspectives around how to do things. So that excitement spans kind of all functions within F5. And the result of all that is you should see an acceleration in all the good things we want to do in the portfolio, of course, in the NGINX controller, but also in a number of open source contributions. And I won't get into that. I think Owen and Jason and Igor will be presenting shortly on the roadmap for NGINX. But all of that, we're trying to accelerate as part of this mission. Now, as I said earlier, these aren't empty promises, and for that reason, I'm very happy to make them publicly. I am also happy that we're having this conference, because as much as I believe F5 has a lot to bring to this community and to this mission, I think we have even more to learn from you. And so this opportunity to get your candid feedback and understand where we should invest more, where we should improve, what we need to learn, for us is absolutely golden. So I want to thank you for that. And most importantly, I want to thank you for the faith and the trust that you have put in the NGINX team, in the NGINX technology, and in this community. We at F5, we're here not to shake that resolve, but rather to affirm it. Because I believe that together, we are going to level up NGINX. Thank you.